Hello everybody and welcome to the second episode of the Patch 1.47 Roundup series. In this episode I'll quickly discuss my time on the dev server, the preliminary patch notes for 1.47 and any miscellaneous changes that have been shown on the dev blog. Now first of all I'll talk about my time on the dev server for patch 1.47. I didn't actually get an awful lot of time on there because basically Gaijin did do a news thread saying about the dev server, what time it was going to be open and all that. But it didn't show up on the news feed in the launcher, so I didn't actually realise until quite a bit later that it was open. I got on about 10 o'clock, and it was due to close until about 11, I think, so not that long at all. And then I had all sorts of technical difficulties, so basically I only got to preview most of the tanks and planes. I will link to the episodes. I only got 2 test flights done. From my extremely limited time, I do approve of most of the new additions. They are pretty good. The only downside so far has been that Britain, the RAF hasn't got anything, not one single solitary plane. But other than that, most of the additions I saw were pretty good. I did manage to quickly test fly the B-29 and the Focke-Wulf 200. Again, I'll link you to them. But then, because of the technical difficulties, basically I lost all sound for some reason. And plus the dev server was going to close in like 10 minutes, so I didn't get much more recording done. There were, of course, other things added in the patch, modifications and stuff like that, but again, I didn't really get a chance to test them out. Just going to let the last of these photos cycle through, and then I'll quickly read out the patch notes. It seems to be mainly a adding new modifications and fixing bugs rather than heavy on content, but it does look like a good patch so far. So here is the patch notes for patch 1.47 as of the 8th of February. I'll just read out some of the basic ones. Binocular views have been added, driver view, contrails, heat haze, different terrain settings. We've covered them all before. Here's where it starts getting a bit interesting. Everyday login awards and awards for tournaments have been added. I don't play tournaments and that doesn't affect me. While I was on the dev server I didn't actually see any prompt or message about login awards. Perhaps because I haven't logged into the dev server every day, so it doesn't count it as a login award or something. Maybe you have to do it twice, one day and the day after. So I don't know what those awards would be. I guess they'd be Silver Lion. So now here's a quite important change. Both of these are together. New type of bomb delay has been added, auto. Works similar to fuses historically used for attack aircraft. Bomb will explode after it hits, so if you hit your target it will explode, but not faster than that after a certain time. Basically, say you drop your bomb at 500 metres, it takes 5 seconds to hit the ground, you've then got to wait another 5 seconds, regardless of any delay you've set yourself, before it will explode. From what I understand, I didn't test it myself, as it says below, auto fuse delays set for all ground attack aircraft in air battle events for Ground Forces arcade battles. So it seems to rule out your normal ground strike missions without tanks. This is actually quite a good change, because at the moment you have people suicide bombing or kamikaze their aircraft, because it's not their aircraft. They've won it in they've got a certain amount of kills. They don't want to, they want to guarantee a hit, so they just dive into a tank and drop the bomb at the last second and get the kill. If they do this, then theoretically, the bomb's going to be there for 10 seconds unless it actually hits the tank. Hopefully removing the kamikaze option and, not, giving people a chance to get away. Also, now sounds and graphical warnings are displayed for players if bombs that are on the ground will reach their vehicle with the blast radius. So, say you do kamikaze the target, you drop your bomb, it lands right next to him, but doesn't hit him. He's now got a warning there's a bomb next to him. He can get away to reduce or, entirely get rid of all the damage. Quite a good change, but I do think 10 seconds is maybe a little excessive, because you'd have to be doing high altitude bombing, or you'd have to, basically aim ahead of your target quite a bit, or you'd still end up kamikazing, I think. Hopefully you embrace the importance of aircraft with cannons, like anti-tank cannons, like the Ju-87Gs. But it's overall a good change. I just think the delays may be a little excessive. I think maybe 5 seconds or even 8 seconds would have been a little preferable. But again, it's a good change. Now, next up is a list of the aircraft and tanks added. I'm not going to go into detail about them because I've already done an episode on them in the dev server, so I'll link you to that. You got the M26E1 for the Americans, a premium, M42, Tiger Tank E, Maus, Flank Panzer Gepard, Marder 3H, T126 SP, T28E, T54 1949. Aircraft, the A20G3, B57B, B29, the BF109 G14, Focke-Wulf 200C1, RL2 1941, Li5FN, which is an updated visual model, not actually a new aircraft, and the J2M4K. Actually, I will talk a little bit about the A20G3 quickly. I didn't actually cover it in my dev server video, because I didn't realise it was actually... Well, it's not a new aircraft from what I understand. I think it's basically replaced the A20 that was already there. I'm not sure what difference it has between the one we had already. Something about... I've heard on Reddit and other websites that it was, I think, a slightly different turret and different performance. I don't know if that's better or good, but yeah, it's... I suppose it's good. I don't know if they had the wrong variant in before, or a variant that didn't exist. I know in the release tree they had an A20D or something that was never actually built, so it's possible they did another mistake like that with the one in game. But good they're fixing errors and adding stuff in. Like I said, there's no British there, which I would have thought, just even if it was an updated visual model would have been nice. It's a shame they didn't put anything in for Britain, although I think we are getting the Fleet Air Arm next patch, so it may be possible other nations are going to not get any aircraft while Britain gets loads. So, you know, maybe we are going to just get more later on. Then we got the flight model changes. I'm not going to go through all of them because there is so many of them. Lots of changes all round. Oh, this one's important actually. The Halton 229 V3 has got a different engine, it's Jumo 004D. They're more powerful apparently, so hopefully, I've heard that Halton was a bit underpowered, so hopefully that will fix some problems. Oh, and for the R2Y2, destructive overload was increased up to 10G for full takeoff weight. I did hear somewhere that Japanese jets had a weird tendency to break their wings quite easily, so I assume it's to do with that. Hopefully it makes it less likely, not entirely sure. Ability to open canopy has been added for aircraft, for them following aircraft. There you go. And ability to switch on lights in cockpits added for the following aircraft. From what I understand, the controls for these are in full real battle. They may change it for the actual release of the patch, but, you know, just in case you're watching this after the patch has been released and you can't find it. Changes in ammunition. The F8F gets more ammunition. Apparently that it's had like 1,000 bullets, which was apparently wrong, and they were very unwilling to up the ammo load. But yeah, hopefully it's got its historical load now. P-51 can take more bombs, or have more variety of useful bomb and rockets, 100, 250 and 500 pound bombs. The F-82E got a machine gun pod. I don't know anything else about it because I didn't get a chance to test it. Typhoon Mark 1B and Mark 1B late have got additional bomb load with two 1,000 pound bombs. The Mark 5 and Mark 2 can take 8 rockets. Ju-88A4's got a bomb load fixed. Preset with 50 kilogram bombs has been increased to 28 bombs. 1,000 kilogram bombs have been added. 50 kilogram bombs have been fixed for the Dornier 217E, M and K. Ammunition for the I-16 has been fixed to 900 shells per gun for the Shikaz. I don't know if that's increased or decreased. The D5 Ju-87 has got the gun pods we talked about before. There's new shells for there's a new AP shell for the IS-3 to 4, and new shells for the T-54 APCR shells. I've heard a bit of complaints about that because apparently, you know, it'll do okay against the Maus, but it will absolutely destroy any other high-tier German tanks, so don't know how that's going to work out. Other than that, there's been changes to the damage model for the R2, all the Aleutian attack aircraft, all the HS-129B 2 and 3, all the Canberra and all the R-28 have had construction strength increased. An error of the tail being ripped off from the insignificant damage has apparently been fixed. There was a period a little while ago where they were being ripped off very easily but not killing the aircraft, so people were stealing kills. Good, that's been fixed. Jet engine fire damage fixed. Possibility to be set on fire tuned according to kerosene fuel consumption. Not entirely sure what that means. F4U damage model fixed. Added fuel containers. I presumably you'll be able to set on fire a lot easier. Changes in locations we've seen before. Ground vehicle missions, mostly miscellaneous, but possibility to select spawn points on the minimap has been added, which is quite good. I've never thought of that before. I'm not sure how useful it will be, but, give people the choice is what I say. Possibility of firing has been disabled in missions for aerobatic team training. Seems like that would have been a very obvious thing to do when you released it, but there we go. Variety of new sounds, sounds as you like turn your head or hearing enemy tanks. Wind sound improvements for aircraft evoke and cockpits, and some sound effects have been optimised. So that's all of the patch notes for 1.47 so far. Now remember, these are only preliminary patch notes, so they could be changed or, other things added, but so far it does seem quite good. It's a little low on content in extra planes and tanks, but it's added a lot of modification, fixing a lot of weapon bugs and stuff like that. It does seem like a very good patch, and hopefully it will do very well on release and be well received on release. One thing I'm especially glad about is the flight models. Not what's been changed, but it actually says what's been changed. Before it used to just say tuned to datasheet, which was confusing, got a lot of people wound up because they didn't know whether their plane was going to perform better or worse, and it caused a lot of confusion. Now it says how it's been changed. Hopefully that will prevent confusion, and it'll just make things a whole lot easier for us when the patch comes around. So we know whether our planes are going to be doing better or worse and not have to guesswork and test it all. Now, there is one more addition that was added to the dev blog that we have to cover. Improved foliage. You'll be able to see changes when MSAA is enabled. And it improves the visual appearance of all vegetation for top computer configurations. So it's unlikely to affect me. There will be a little annotation showing you which is before and which is after. Can't see, you can tell the changes if you spend a little while looking at them, but it doesn't always seem so obvious to the naked eye. For me personally, it's a good change. It is good they're improving the graphics for high-end users. I mean, low-end users probably don't want too many graphic changes because, won't be able to play. But, for high-end users, this is definitely good news, and will let them, use their computing power for, better graphics and all that. So definitely a good change in my opinion, although personally won't affect me. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed watching the episode. Probably only going to get one more episode of the patch 1.47 roundup series. I have a feeling the patch is going to come out a lot sooner than most patches usually do at this point. They do seem to be sort of going full steam ahead with it. But hopefully it's giving you a good insight into what's coming in the patch. Good points, bad points, all sorts of things about patch 1.47. So anyway, hope you liked the episode. Leave a like if you did. Subscribe if you like these sorts of videos. Leave feedback or comments. I could always do with more feedback, and I'd like to hear your feelings on patch 1.47. Maybe you've seen something that's, I haven't covered as in depth that you're really looking forward to. Maybe you've seen something that could possibly be quite a negative for patch 1.47. I'd like to hear all your thoughts. Hope you've enjoyed watching the episode. Hopefully you'll stick around for the next episodes in the series, and well, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.